costume teacher here, and I'm here today to read to you Chapter 4 in Mr. Popper's Penguins. All right, in this chapter, which is called Captain Cook, there are a few vocabulary words that I want to make sure we are all familiar with. Okay, so the first word on page 23 is lively. Can everyone say lively? That means to be excited or to do something excitedly. That's a lively looking penguin. All right, and the next word on page 23 also is retreating. Can everyone say retreating? That means to move backwards. At your own risk, everybody. And then the last word is solemnly. That's on page 26. Can everyone say solemnly? That means to be serious, to do something seriously. Right? That face. We've all been there. Hopefully you're not there right now, but maybe you are, and I feel that. I respect that. All right, let's get to reading chapter 4. If you are reading in a version like me, the chapter starts on page 21. If you don't have a book, just follow along with me. All right. Captain Cook. "Call who, Captain Cook?" asked Mrs. Popper, who had come in so quietly that none of them had heard her. "Oh, why, the penguin," said Mr. Popper. "I was just saying," he went on, as Mrs. Popper sat down suddenly on the floor to recover from her surprise, "that we'd name him after Captain Cook. He was a famous English explorer who lived about the time of the American Revolution. He sailed all over where no one had ever been before. He didn't actually get to the South Pole, of course, but he made a lot of important scientific discoveries about the Antarctic regions. He was a brave man and a kind leader. So I think Captain Cook would be a very suitable name for our penguin here." "Well, I never," said Mrs. Popper. "Gork," said Captain Cook, suddenly getting lively again. With a flap of his flippers, he jumped from the tub to the washstand. I'm trying to get out a flipper there. And stood there for a minute, surveying the floor. Means like looking around the floor. Then he jumped down, walked over to Mrs. Popper, and began to peck at her ankle. This is going to go well, isn't it? "Stop him, Papa!" screamed Mrs. Popper, retreating into the hallway with Captain Cook after her, and Mr. Popper and the children following. In the living room, she paused. So did Captain Cook, for he was delighted with the room. Now, a penguin may look very strange in a living room. Maybe, I don't know. But a living room looks very strange to a penguin. Even Mrs. Popper had to smile as they watched Captain Cook with the light of curiosity in his excited circular eyes, and his black tailcoat dragging pompously behind his little pinkish feet, strut from one upholstered chair to another, pecking at each to see what it was made of. That's also going to go over well, isn't it? Then he turned suddenly and marched out to the kitchen. "Maybe he's hungry," said Janie. Captain Cook immediately marched up to the refrigerator. "Gork?" he inquired, turning to slant his head wisely at Mrs. Popper and looking at her pleadingly with his right eye. Can you look pleadingly with only your right eye? I don't know. "He certainly is cute," she said. "I guess I'll have to forgive him for biting my ankle." "He probably only did it out of curiosity. Anyway, he's a nice, clean-looking bird. Orc, repeated the penguin, nibbling at the metal handle of the refrigerator door with his upstretched beak. Mr. Popper opened the door for him, and Captain Cook stood very high and leaned his sleek black head back so he could see inside. Now that Mr. Popper's work was over for the winter, the icebox was not quite so full as usual, but the penguin didn't know that. What do you suppose he likes to eat? Asked Mrs. Popper. Let's see, said Mr. Popper, as he removed all the food and set it out on the kitchen table. Now then, Captain Cook, take a look. The penguin jumped onto a chair and from there on the edge of the table, flapping his flippers again to recover his balance. Then he walked solemnly around the table. He's going very slow, very serious. And between the dishes of food, inspecting everything with the greatest interest, though he touched nothing. Finally, he stood still, very erect, raised his beak to point at the ceiling, and made a loud, almost purring sound. He trilled. Great. All right, so all the food's on the table. We're just letting him pick it. And there's a penguin on our table. And we're fine with that because he looks pretty clean. She bought into it real fast. Did you feel that? I did too. But, all right, everybody. 1, 2, 3. That's the penguin's way of saying how pleased it is, said Mr. Popper, who had read about it in his Antarctic books. Ah, it's a sign that you're pleased. Great. Apparently, however, what Captain Cook wanted to show that he was pleased with their kindness rather than their food. For now, to their surprise, he jumped down and walked into the dining room. I know, said Mr. Popper. We ought to have some seafood for him. Canned shrimps or something. Or maybe he isn't hungry yet. I've read that penguins can go a month without food. A month? I bet some of you are like, I need food right now. Like, where's my food? Same. Mama, Papa, called Bill. Come see what Captain Cook has done. Oh, can't wait. Captain Cook had done it, all right. He had discovered the bowl of goldfish on the dining room windowsill. He had already swallowed the last of the goldfish. Oh, this isn't good. Bad penguin, reproved Mrs. Popper, glaring down at Captain Cook. Yeah, not cool, dude. Captain Cook squatted guiltily on the carpet and tried to make himself look small. He knows he's done wrong, said Mr. Popper. Oh, isn't he smart? Really? They're fine with this? They're fine with it? Ah! All right, sorry. Maybe we can train him, said Mrs. Popper. Bad, naughty captain, she said to the penguin in a loud voice. Bad to eat the goldfish. And she spanked him on his round black head. Boop. Before she could do that again, Captain Cook hastily waddled out of the kitchen. There, the Poppers found him trying to hide in the still open refrigerator. He was squatting under the ice cube coils, under which he could barely squeeze, sitting down. His round, white-circled eyes looked out at them mysteriously from the dimness of the inside of the box. I think that's about the right temperature for him, at that, said Mr. Popper. We could let him sleep in there at night. But where will I put the food? Asked Mrs. Popper. I guess we can get another ice box for the food, said Mr. Popper. "Look," said Janie, "he's gone to sleep." Mr. Popper turned the cold control switch to its coldest so that Captain Cook could sleep more comfortably. Then he left the door ajar so that the penguin would have plenty of fresh air to breathe. "Tomorrow I will have the icebox service department send a man out to bore some holes in the door for air," he said, "and then he can put a handle on the inside of the door so that Captain Cook can go in and out of his refrigerator as he pleases." "Well, dear me, I never thought we would have a penguin for a pet," said Mrs. Popper. "Still, he behaves pretty well, on the whole, and he's so nice and clean that perhaps he will be a good example to you and the children. And now, I declare we must get busy. We haven't done anything but watch that bird, Papa. Will you just help me to set the beans on the table, please?" "Just a minute," answered Mr. Popper. "I just happen to think that Captain Cook will not feel right on the floor of that icebox. Penguins make their nests of pebbles and stones. So I'll just take some ice cubes out of the tray and put them under him. That way he'll feel more comfortable." And that, my friends, was chapter 4. So, if you have goldfish, you gotta watch them carefully. If you end up with a penguin, clearly, lesson learned. And I love that they're just like, sort of like, let's just go on let them go on a house tour and check out the place. And now we're gonna customize our refrigerator so he has a cold place to sleep. It's totally logical. It's totally like, here's what would happen to all of us, I'm sure. And yeah, you get one pet and you got to make sure they don't eat the other pet. I mean, these are real things that could happen, right? Maybe? All right. Anyhow, well, I'll see you next time for chapter 5. We'll see what happens with this custom refrigerator, maybe. All right. See you soon, everybody. Bye.